All right, let's get into a story that I guarantee is going to surprise you. When you think about the biggest, most famous beers on the planet, your mind probably goes to the US, right? Or maybe Germany or Belgium. But what if I told you that the single biggest player in the whole global beer industry, the company behind all those brands, actually started as a side hustle at a 19th century pork slaughterhouse in São Paulo? Yeah, for real.
You heard that right. The massive company that owns Budweiser, the king of beers, Corona, the ultimate beach vacation beer, and that classic Stella Artois, is controlled by a Brazilian company. It's a fact that just blows most people's minds, and it totally flips the script on how we think about global business.
So you have to ask, right? How in the world did this happen? How did a company from what was considered an emerging market end up dominating a centuries-old industry and eventually take over what is arguably the most American brand of all time?
To get the answer, we've got to rewind the clock. Way, way back, long before any talk of global domination. The whole story really starts with this bitter, 100-year rivalry between two Brazilian beer giants that fought tooth and nail for every single sale.
And their origin stories are kind of wild. So on one side, you've got Antarctica, founded back in 1885. And get this, it wasn't even a brewery. It was a pork slaughterhouse and an ice factory that just had so much extra cooling space, they were like, hey, why don't we try making some beer? Then, just 3 years later, a Swiss immigrant in Rio starts up Brahma because he missed the European-style lagers from back home. For the next 100 years, these two were the absolute titans of Brazilian beer, launching iconic brands, and eventually, Brahma even scooped up Skol, which became a monster bestseller. So for decades, that was pretty much the story. But then, in 1989, everything, and I mean everything, changed. A new group of owners showed up with this totally radical new way of thinking about how to run a business. And they were about to turn one of these old-school brewers into a lean, mean, world-conquering machine.
And this number right here, this is where it all began. A guy named Jorge Paulo Lemann and his partners, who came from this legendary Brazilian investment bank called Garantia, bought control of Brahma for about $52 million. Now, I want you to burn that number into your brain because it's going to seem ridiculously small in just a minute.
So, what was their secret weapon? Well, it started with this idea: zero-based budgeting. See, most companies just take last year's budget and add a little bit for this year. These guys said, nope, scrap it. Every single department had to justify every single dollar they wanted to spend, right from zero every single year. It sounds brutal, and it was, but man, was it an effective way to cut the fat and make the company hyper-efficient.
And this new system went way beyond just budgets. They built this whole culture around a few key ideas. First, a radical meritocracy. Basically, you ate what you killed. Your paycheck was tied directly to your performance, no exceptions. They drilled into everyone this idea of extreme cost discipline. You treat the company's money as if it were coming out of your own pocket. And they built this incredible pipeline to find hungry, young talent and shoot them up into leadership roles faster than anyone else. This wasn't just a new strategy. It was a whole new corporate religion.
So, once they had perfected this super efficient, super aggressive culture at Brahma, they were ready to unleash it on the rest of the world. And what happened next was honestly one of the most audacious and unbelievably fast corporate conquests in modern history.
Let's just walk through how they built this ladder to the top. First step, in 1999, they did the unthinkable. They merged those two ancient rivals, Brahma and Antarctica, to create Ambev. Boom. Just like that, they controlled 70% of the entire Brazilian beer market. Step 2, in 2004, they didn't get bought by some European giant. No, they merged with Belgium's Interbrew to create InBev, making themselves co-owners of a global powerhouse. And that, right there, set the stage for the final jaw-dropping move.
Step 3. Okay, remember that $52 million they paid for Brahma back in '89? Well, less than 20 years later, the company they now controlled shelled out $52 billion for a hostile takeover of Anheuser-Busch, the maker of Budweiser. That's not a typo. From million to billion, 1,000 times bigger deal. Just incredible.
The end result was just staggering. The new company, AB-INBEV, was now, by a huge margin, the world's biggest brewer. Think about this. They controlled roughly 1 out of every 4 beers sold on the entire planet. That management playbook that was born in Brazil, it was now running the world of beer.
But hold on, the story doesn't end there, not even close. After conquering the physical world of beer, Ambev is now transforming itself all over again, this time for the digital age. They are literally rewriting their own winning playbook.
And this is a really fundamental shift in how they see themselves. The old Ambev was a world-class company that made and sold drinks. Simple. The new Ambev, well, it sees itself as a technology platform, a massive network for consumer distribution and data collection that, oh yeah, just happens to use beer as its main product.
And look, these numbers show it's not just some fancy talk. In 2024 alone, their app for ordering beer direct to your door, Zé Delivery, handled over 66 million orders in Brazil. Their platform for businesses, BEES, saw its marketplace do over $2.5 billion in sales. And get this, a whopping 75% of Ambev's total revenue now flows through these digital channels.
This whole ecosystem is their new superpower. You've got BEES, which is the digital backbone for more than 1 million little corner stores and bars. You have Zé Delivery, which is a direct line into the homes of millions of customers. They've even started BEES Bank to offer financial services to all those small businesses. And every single tap, every single order feeds this gigantic data flywheel, giving them insane insights into what people are drinking, where they're drinking it, and when.
So that leaves us with this one last fascinating question to chew on. This company used a revolutionary management playbook to take over the entire global beer industry. Now, with a brand new digital playbook built on platforms and data, is their next target something even bigger? Are they trying to conquer the very infrastructure of retail itself?